course, the race everyone's talking about is here in New York City, where 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani was elected as the next mayor. Yep, Mamdani is just 34 years old. Yep. We've had subway delays last longer than that. 34 years, we've had government shutdowns longer than that.
Yes, the Democrats, their government shutdowns. That's right, they shut the government. What is it, 38 days now the Democrats have shut the government down? It's the world record for the U.S. Congress, U.S. government shutdown. But when you're a Democrat, it's a joke on late-night TV, and then the Democrats blame the Republicans, and the news media pretend that it's true. Isn't that wacky? A very good and happy Thursday once again, and welcome back. We are at 888-630-9625. Nancy Pelosi announcing this morning that she will not seek re-election. After 226 years in the U.S. Congress, not really, only 20 terms. I think she's at 39, is that what, 38, 39 years in Congress. When she came to Washington as member of the House, the national debt was about $2 trillion. Now it's $37.5 trillion, and she was Speaker of the House for a good period of time. I think that she should be held responsible for that, along with Chuck Schumer. Been here for so long. When Chuck Schumer came, he got here even before Nancy Pelosi, and the national debt was below $1 trillion when he was sworn in as a member of the House of Representatives before being elected to the Senate. Also, Nancy Pelosi, big news this morning. And we've got, Zohran Mamdani, the incoming mayor of New York City. Remarkable things going on there. And I've got President Trump talked about that last night. I want to share that with you. Also, news we just learned of moments ago. There is a Dallas Cowboys player. He's a defensive end, and his name, Marshawn Kneeland. 24 years old and dead. Died Marshawn Kneeland. We just learned minutes ago. Here's the New York Post 14 minutes ago. Marshawn Kneeland, Cowboys defensive end, dead at 24 days after scoring touchdown. That seems less important in the scheme of things, doesn't it? It's got a touchdown, too. Marshawn Kneeland, a defensive end for the Cowboys, has died at the age of 24. The team announced on Thursday morning. Kneeland died Wednesday night, his agent said in a statement. A cause of death was not disclosed. Now, that's probably not a good sign for a 24-year-old super athlete, I got to say. Kneeland, a 2024 second-round draft pick, played 17 snaps during the Cowboys' loss to the Cardinals on Monday night. But, that's not all. He scored a touchdown on a blocked punt in the 27-17 defeat. It is with extreme sadness that the Dallas Cowboys share that Marshawn Kneeland tragically passed away this morning. Marshawn was a beloved teammate and member of our organization. Our thoughts and prayers regarding Marshawn are with his girlfriend, Catalina, and his family, the Cowboys said in a statement. Now, it's obviously a very, very sad story. 24-year-old Dallas Cowboys, super athlete, and having a good run. Just had a touchdown quite recently, and now dead at the age of 24. Got his girlfriend and his family, Catalina, and very, very sad. And then when they say, a 24-year-old dies and a cause of death is not given, that raises eyebrows and suspicions, and probably appropriately so. Typically, we had another one of these recently where someone very young died unexpectedly. And I remember texting on our text thread that usually when someone that age dies unexpectedly, it may have something to do with a fatal drug overdose or a suicide. And I remember the last one we were talking about did turn out to be one of those two, and sometimes the drug overdose is a suicide too. But very sad. So, and people know the Cowboys, obviously, and the NFL, and Marshawn Kneeland, 24 years old. Very sad. So sad story. And if we learn anything about a cause during the course of our broadcast today, I'll come back and share that update with you. But no cause as of now. Now let's get to politics. And speaking of blood sports, let's go to soundbite number one, because President Trump did an interview with Bret Baier of the Fox News Channel yesterday. It aired last night on the Fox News Channel, and Bret Baier asked President Trump about Zohran Mamdani winning the mayor's race in New York City, the city, of course, where President Trump was born and grew up and built skyscrapers and became a billionaire and owned his own airline and where he has long parked his private Boeing 757 airliner as his private jet, and he's had quite a life in New York City. President Trump talking to Bret Baier last night about Zohran Mamdani, the communist jihadi, also known as a Democrat today, winning the race for the mayor to move into Gracie Mansion in New York City, mayor of New York City.
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. To just communism, or the concept of communism, has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
I tend to doubt it's going to work this time. Yeah, it's never worked before. Lots of promise. It's all a big lie. All a big lie. Has been all along. Long before the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 in St. Petersburg, and Vladimir Lenin, and I think Bernie Sanders was there, wasn't he? He's the guy that pushed that baby stroller down the stairs in Potemkin, I think. Isn't that remarkable? So President Trump, as a lifelong New Yorker, he's torn. And Bret Baier then asked, hey, did you see the Zohran Mamdani deadly victory speech?
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
We played audio for you yesterday. I think it was 8 times, right, Michael? 7 or 8 times that Mamdani angrily denounced Donald Trump in his never-ending victory speech in New York City. Boy, I got to tell you, people are already fleeing New York City for Florida, and Florida knows it. Let's go to soundbite number 3. President Trump then not talking to Bret Baier on Fox News, but he was in Florida, in Miami, I believe. Yeah, it was in Miami, where he was giving a speech to a business group talking about capitalism and prosperity and the United States of America.
The communists, Marxists, socialists, and globalists had their chance, and they delivered nothing but disaster. After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. The United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it.
Well, in New York City, the United States, I certainly hope that's true, but New York City, they've got, man, oh man, the communists, and you got to call them out. These, this democratic socialist stuff. Again, as Lenin said, the goal of socialism is communism, and the old line is the difference between socialism and communism is 5 years. 5 years. It wasn't only President Trump. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, yesterday also talking about Mamdani and the direction of the Democrat Party, which is very, very disturbing.
Working families watching this play out have a right to know that socialism and communism are not just confined in New York City. They are quickly coming to a town near you unless you stand up and let your voice of common sense be heard. While Democrats hitch their wagon to the socialist agenda, Republicans are going to continue to act in good faith on behalf of hardworking Americans. And we will remind a new generation of Americans about the painful and inescapable realities of history.
The painful and inescapable realities of history, and that's a fact. And it's the communism, the rise of the left in Europe in the 20th century, and then in Asia and China. And the Soviet Union, of course, spread their communist war to the Korean Peninsula, the Korean War, to Vietnam, the Vietnam War. They spread word to Latin America from Nicaragua and throughout Central America and other parts of Latin America, also Africa. And, they murdered 100 million people in the name of inexpensive food, something like that. Everybody gets free food. We're going to have to kill 100 million people to make the food affordable. They starved to death millions of people in Ukraine, stealing all their food, the commies did. And it's not communism, it's just socialism. Yeah, it's the same pair of pants, honestly. Again, I think I told the story the other day. A great man came along on one of our sea cruises, a nice Polish-American family. His grandmother, who grew up in eastern Poland, lived under Nazi occupation when the Nazis invaded Poland and took over and filled it with death camps. And the Nazis were the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. And then the Soviet Union came in, Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union, the military, 50,000 tanks rolled over Poland, drove out the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, and brought in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. You see a theme emerging. And our friend on the sea cruise said he was talking to his grandmother and said to his grandmother, what was the difference between living under the Nazis and living under the Soviets? And she paused and thought and said, the flag, because they're both the same damn thing. And we've got that going for us. Now, the incoming mayor of New York, who won the Democrat primary as a Democratic socialist, and he's a virulent anti-Semite, anti-Israel, jihadi, and a left-wing radical who they got to have city-run grocery stores where everything will be great, but there'll be, what will there be? No, there'll be no cigarettes, right? No cigarettes. And no lottery tickets. And because he's an Islamist, I assume there will be no alcohol and no pork. Got to have no pork also, because the jihad is coming to, as Mike Johnson said, the jihad is coming with communism, with today's Democrat Party, the red-green coalition. The red being the communists. Don't say red state, green state. The left is the red. And here is Zoran Mamdani at his big victory speech.
I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working-class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis. This is a president who ran a campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries, and now, as was said by one of our co-chairs, has gone so far as to cut SNAP benefits for close to 2 million New Yorkers.
Yes, I apologize. That was not his tragic victory speech. That was him standing around uninterrupted by the press, who were just nodding in agreement and licking their lips, and they think they want to go on vacation with him. And an amazing. And I'm sorry, Trump, and it's the Democrats shut the government down, and then the communists come out and lie. The jihadis come out and lie. The Democrats come out and lie and say, oh, yeah, Trump is taking food stamps away from everybody. Now, this is an amazing moment because this is actually going on. The mayor of Miami is a great American and a Republican, Francis Suarez. And Francis Suarez was being interviewed by the Fox Business Channel about the turnout, the result of the mayoral election in New York City. And, he immediately thought, this is going to be great for Miami because millionaires are going to be flooding down to Miami and driving up our real estate prices.
I'm already seeing the Miami best realtor Mamdani posters being created. And I believe there's going to be a 30 to 40% increase in real estate prices over the next 6 months to a year, particularly if Mamdani is successful in executing his agenda of government for all, right? This notion that government is the arbiter of success and failure, which we know is antithetical to American values of liberty and freedom and capitalism.
Mayor Suarez in Miami, he's great. And there are headlines everywhere. New York City election anxiety drives New York buyers to Florida real estate market. And the mayor's not alone. The real estate people down there are licking their chops, and they've already got people flooding in. Every expensive condo overlooking the ocean in Miami is, and it has multiple bidders, and the real estate prices are skyrocketing. Remarkable stuff. Yes, sir. And another headline, business owner worries about business conditions in New York City under Mamdani leadership. They're talking about moving Wall Street to Texas. And a lot of the Wall Street firms are already gravitating away from New York City and looking at Texas, looking at Florida to relocate because communism not good for Wall Street. And doesn't matter what they call themselves. It's what they do. It's their policies. You know, a recent study revealed that just 1 year after an abortion, the women involved were 50% more likely to need psychiatric treatment and 87% more likely to experience personality or behavioral disorders. That's not women's health care, as the Democrats describe it. That's trauma. But at preborn, women find the kind of real care that they need, the kind that heals. When a woman walks into one of preborn's network of clinics, she's welcomed with open arms. She can see her baby by way of an ultrasound, and she's offered a hope-filled series of choices. If she chooses life, preborn continues walking with her for up to 2 years. They work together providing maternity clothes, diapers, counseling, lessons on how to be the mother of a brand new baby, and so much more. Preborn helps to provide care for the whole person, the whole woman, and, of course, for the precious baby, the life growing inside of her, which she gets to see and experience and communicate with. As you think about your year-end donations, your year-end giving, consider the greatest investment you could ever make, the gift of life. All you have to do is dial pound 250, and you say the keyword baby. That's pound 250. The keyword when prompted is baby, or you can go online to preborn.com/plant. That's me, preborn.com/PLANTE. All of your gifts are, of course, tax deductible, and Preborn has a 5-star rating as a charity. Yes, sir. All right, I've got more President Trump coming up and more madness, courtesy of the usual suspects. We're at 888-630-9625. Now, New York already seeing the effects of the communists being elected by a bunch of idiot white liberal women in their 20s. But got 81% of the women under 30 vote. Right? But it turns out that the fire chief in New York, Jewish fire chief in New York City, has announced that he's resigning because of the victory of Mamdani. He's announced that's it. New York City fire commissioner to quit over Mamdani's stance on Israel. The people at Bloomberg.com reporting the news. And that's it. He's out. The chief of the fire department is out because of the victory there. I've also got the now former chief of the NYPD. The New York Police Department did an interview yesterday, and guess what he said? I've got that coming up. So we've got real estate prices skyrocketing in Florida, in Miami in particular, because everybody fleeing New York. The fire chief is quitting because they got such a Jew hater as mayor. And wait till you hear what the NYPD police chief had to say. So I'm sharing several New York stories with you. The Speaker of the House and the President rightly just calling him a commie, which is polite for what he is. He's a jihadi and a commie. But I just started sharing with you the people fleeing New York City, to the point, wealthy people that can go down to Florida and not pay state income taxes, save lots of money if you make $1 million a year. You live in D.C., that's another like 10% they take, so it's another $100,000 a year. New York City is like that, too. So you go to Florida, and in Florida, in Miami, I just played audio of the mayor of Miami, Florida, who said, hey, listen, we're expecting a 30 to 40% increase in real estate prices this year entirely in Miami, and he's the mayor of Miami, entirely because of rich New Yorkers fleeing New York because of the election of the communist jihadi, who did allegedly get 33% of the Jewish vote there, which means he didn't get 67% of the Jewish vote. But never mind that, Democrats. Mamdani's impact is the headline at the Miami Independent. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez predicts 30 to 40% increase in area real estate prices on Fox Business. And he is on camera doing that. We just played the audio of that for you. And business owner worries about business conditions in New York City under Mamdani leadership is another headline. Democratic Socialist Mamdani defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. The Democrats just hate everybody. They even hate themselves. They hate each other. Billionaire grocery store chain owner John Katzimatidis. He also owns WABC Radio in New York City. Billionaire grocery store owner John Katzimatidis expressed concerns following New York City's historic mayoral race that the Big Apple would become lawless. That's the word that he used. Under Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's leadership. Voters on Tuesday chose Mamdani, self-described Democratic Socialist who defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo. And specifically, John Katzimatidis, who I've met once or twice, told Fox Business that he's worried that Mamdani will appoint judges that are too lenient and that he will reduce the city's police force. So that's going on there. John Katzimatidis knows what he's talking about when it comes to New York City. That's for sure. Now, there are other very important elements here, but let's go now to the former police chief, until recently, the police chief of the NYPD, the New York Police Department. His name is John Schell. It's spelled Schell, Chell. John Schell, career law enforcement, of course, and now the former chief of the New York City Police Department, the NYPD, the highest-ranking uniform position. And he was asked about the Mamdani victory and how that will affect members of the NYPD. Here is the former chief of the NYPD, John Schell.
Now let's just look at the track record. Look at the rhetoric, what he says about the police department. Look at who he's aligned with, the DSA. No cops, no one in prison.
Democratic Socialists.
Look at what he wants to do legally. He wants to not enforce low-level laws. He says he doesn't want to do the way of prostitution, but he wants to criminalize it. This is a recipe for disaster for the city and public safety. It doesn't align with what we're doing.
Decriminalize prostitution, because that's what everybody wants their daughters to grow up to do. At least if you're in a Democrat household, everybody wants their daughter to grow up to be a street prostitute. And that's what the communist jihadi is angling for. And he wants to decriminalize all drugs, too, of heroin and fentanyl, and that ought to make the sidewalks bright, especially at Christmas time. Isn't that amazing? Now, that's isn't that amazing? And he said that there's more. He said, listen, there are a lot of police that can't afford to leave, that are, in line for retirement, and they keep coming in because they like their job. But here is the former police chief, John Schell.
When you take his stance on the Civilian Complaint Review Board, the board that oversees punishment for complaints from cops, right, and you want to give that adjudication to them, cops are not going to stay. These investigations in CCRB, they hate the police department. They're young kids with purple hair that are going to try to adjudicate penalties against our police officers. There's 4,000 that could leave in January. They are not going to stand for this.
They're not going to stand for this. Thousands in line for retirement, and then there are those that are just going to find a job someplace else. They're NYPD, be hired by any police department in the country.
I don't know. We came back once from bail reform. We fought so hard to get here today. I don't know if we can come back a second time. But it remains to be seen. I would like to think he's going to come a little more center with his public safety narrative, but it remains to be seen. But I'm a little troubled by what I'm hearing.
A little troubled by what I'm hearing. The former chief of the NYPD, thousands are going to retire early, and that's all fine with the Democrat Party because they're pro-crime and they're anti-police, and the police are the bad guys. The new chief law enforcement officer in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Jay Johns, the Democrat that won on Tuesday, has called for police to be shot and killed by criminals so that they, the police, who are the bad guys, according to him, and he's the new attorney general in Virginia, the police are the bad guys, so that they will stop shooting innocent people, which isn't happening, but he's an anti-cop chief law enforcement officer, attorney general. He's a Democrat. They're just not on the side of truth, justice, and the American way. Also, get a load of this. It's making international news. Jewish FDNY, that's the fire department in New York. Jewish FDNY chief resigns on same day city elects socialist mayor Zohran Mamdani. This is the Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom. New York City's fire department commissioner reportedly handed in his letter of resignation hours after Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor of the city. Robert Tucker, who is Jewish, will step down from his position with the city's fire department on December 19th, sources told the New York Post. His resignation came hours after Democratic Socialist Mamdani, who is anti-Israel, defeated Republican Curtis Sliwa and the former state governor Andrew Cuomo, who is, of course, a Democrat from a Democrat legacy family. It remains unclear exactly why he tendered his resignation. The Daily Mail has approached Tucker, the fire department commissioner, for further comment. Sources told the New York Daily News, separate from the New York Post, that there were no talks between Tucker and Mamdani's team about him staying on in his role under the new mayor. The same source added that due to Tucker's religion, Jewish, and pro-Israel stance, the commissioner felt that he wouldn't fit in well with Mamdani and his team. According to the New York Post, Tucker will make a return to running a private security firm he led before joining Mayor Eric Adams' administration. Okay, so we got that. Now he's head of the fire department. The New York Post, also reported that Tucker, the fire commissioner, was set to fly to Israel later today to meet with a fellow fire commissioner. Well, sure, naturally. Who doesn't do that? Mamdani's win, which saw him take over 50% of the vote, means he will become the city's first Muslim mayor and the first jihadi mayor, to be sure. The first America-hating mayor. You know, I got to say, Curtis Sliwa loves New York City, and he is, Now, isn't that amazing? Just remarkable stuff. And we got Chuckles Schumer out there. Schumer is now lying up on Capitol Hill, blaming Trump and Republicans for the government shutdown, which he shut down. These people are psychopaths. They're not just pathological liars. They're actual psychopaths. But in any case, we have the now former police chief, NYPD, saying that you can expect thousands of NYPD officers to flee the NYPD. We have the Jewish fire chief of the FDNY, the fire department of New York, hand in his resignation. Real estate prices in Miami are skyrocketing because so many people are already fleeing New York City and going to Miami that the mayor there is predicting a 30% to 40% increase in real estate values because of all the people that are fleeing and will flee New York City now that the commie jihadi has been elected by the Democrats and the Democrat Party and by stupid young women voters under the age of 30 who voted at a rate of 81% for Mamdani. This is a terrible, terrible thing. Now, speaking of groping, because we were just talking about Governor Cuomo, and he is famous groper, right? In Mexico. Have you been to Mexico? Merry old Mexico. They have maracas and caracas and things like that. They got all kinds of very musical. But here is the video. Man gropes, and the headline, man gropes Mexican president, tries to kiss her as she speaks to people. While Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, was greeting citizens and speaking to them in the streets of Mexico City's historic downtown, a man who appeared to be intoxicated, well, a drunk Mexican man, wasn't he driving an 18-wheeler in the United States of America? A man who appeared to be intoxicated approached her from behind, placed one hand on her shoulder, and attempted to kiss her neck. They're leaving out where the other hand was. In a disturbing video that has now gone viral on the internet, where else would it go viral? A man groped Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, even tried to kiss her before a member of the presidential security detail intervened. While the president was greeting citizens and speaking to them in a street in Mexico City's historic downtown, a man who appeared to be intoxicated approached her from behind, placed one hand on her shoulder, attempted to kiss her neck, and also tried to touch her body from behind with both hands, if you know what I mean. As soon as Sheinbaum turned around, the security personnel steered the man away. Didn't club him, nightstick him, or pepperball him, or shoot him or anything. The president could be heard saying, "Don't worry." She politely agreed to take a picture with him and patted him on the back. Patted him on the back. Maybe she thought he's cute. And then it turns out that it was Gavin Newsom. The man was Gavin Newsom. It wasn't really, but it could be. It could be the former governor of New York. Yes, and he reached up. If you watch the video, his left hand goes right for the left breast, and she's calm, cool, collected, and a couple of big guys with guns come in and calm the situation. And I'd say, just quickly looking at the video, you'd say, oh, yeah, he looks hammered. There's a drunk Mexican there, and he's trying to grope the president of Mexico, who really kind of brushed it off and handled it quite like a sturdy person. She did. You have the audio of that moment there? No, you don't. Yeah. Don't worry about it. But it's really a video thing. But that's kind of a wacky story. Yeah, man gropes Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, tries to kiss her, speaking to the people. Man arrested after groping Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on street, CBS News says. But still the funniest story of the day is that the Louvre, the art museum, former palace in Paris, just robbed recently of more than $100 million in crown jewels from the Napoleonic era. The password to disable the security system at the Louvre, the password is Louvre. So, it's like using your first name as your password. Louvre is the password. Just punch that in. They've probably changed it since, but that's pretty funny, pretty ridiculous. Also, because the Democrats shut down, the Schumer shutdown, we're looking at 30 airports that are, and maybe 40 airports, are going to have reduced air travel because of Schumer and the Democrats. And Schumer is on the floor of the Senate today, the well of the Senate, blaming Republicans and Trump for Chuck Schumer's shutdown of the government. These people are psychopaths. They really are. The lie is so big that no one would dare to not believe it. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Rachel calling from Clark County, Virginia. Rachel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris. Always a pleasure to talk to you. How are you today?
Rachel, very well. Better for hearing your voice.
Oh, I'm flattered, as always. So I had an idea. The Founding Fathers, of course, created the Electoral College system to make sure that states like California and New York could not pick the president every single time. And so when you look at the states and you look at the maps, you see how red pretty much every state is, except for these big blue chunks. I figure, don't you think the same thing should apply statewide so that cities like in Virginia, like Loudoun County, Prince William County, don't always get to choose the politicians every time?
Very, very interesting. Very interesting thought. I'm not sure I've ever heard anybody suggest that, and it's quite interesting. You're right. You look at a map. Well, when Donald Trump wins, when Ronald Reagan wins, you look at the county-by-county maps, and you see that almost every county in the country is a Republican county, except for the big cities where all the crime and drugs and prostitutes are. And that's where you find your Democrats, because the crime and they gravitate naturally to these places. But you raise a very interesting point because, yeah, there are pockets, of course, in Virginia. Richmond, which was the capital of the Confederacy, of the Confederate States of America during the American Civil War, which the Democrat Party started. You raise a very interesting question, Rachel. I think it's a fun question. I'm not sure how it would work on a state level, but it should be talked about at the State House, because
I just think something has to change, because it's the people, the same thing for the same concept. The people out in the rural counties don't get a voice. And if they can just pack all kinds of people in there illegally, however, and then get them all to vote, and then they never lose. Yeah,
which is their scheme. And they have sayings like "by any means necessary" and by hook or by crook, because they will take the power regardless, no matter how they get it, what it takes to get it. they will do anything to secure power. But you raise a very interesting question, Rachel, and I've never even thought about that, and I've never discussed it. You brought it up first. That's great. Fun stuff. Yeah, and the Electoral College, which the Democrats want to do away with because they're criminals. And I've got another story related to that coming right up, too. Now, the Schumer shutdown is a record breaker. The government has never been shut down for as long as it has been shut down by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats as of this day. And it's because they're demanding subsidies for Obamacare to bail out Obamacare again. Remember, the Washington Post said a couple of weeks ago now, Obamacare was never actually affordable. It was never actually. The real problem is that Obamacare was never actually affordable. Chuck Schumer was in the well of the Senate, on the floor of the Senate today, just lying like a communist psychopath.
Look, if Republicans were smart, they would get the message after Tuesday that their do-nothing strategy isn't working. Even Donald Trump knows Americans hold Republicans responsible for this mess. Here's what he said. The shutdown was a big factor. He was talking about, why did you lose the election? He said the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans.
Virginia.
Again, Donald Trump's words. The shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans. That's what he said about the elections Tuesday. This is probably the smartest thing President Trump has said in a while.
Just another stupid criminal lie from you, however, the Lizard King.
Donald Trump clearly is feeling pressure
Donald Trump.
to bring the shutdown to an end.
You shut it
I have
down.
good news for the president.
He shut it
Meet
down.
with Democrats, reopen the government, fix the ACA crisis. That's the best way to put this crisis behind us.
I think if I were the president, I'd send Truth Social to Schumer, telling him that he shut down the government. You need to open up the government and shove it. I think that that'd be concise, I think. But the media lies about it so much. If you watch CNN or NBC fake news products, they're still going on. The Republicans control the House and the Senate. Yeah, and the Democrats have just enough power to shut down the government. I've got an update for you on the filibuster, too.